Well, hello, and you are all indeed welcome back into our earlier introduction promotion videos for the 48 Acts, which, creates a greater understanding and awareness of what's in the 48 Acts for you, because this is the most important thing about the 48 Acts, that it's for you exclusively. We've been getting a lot of comment and feedback, all of which has been very good. About in actual fact, I took a selection of people who have rung in with difficulties they're experiencing in their life in an ongoing way. But before we get to those, Paddy, if we could just, I suppose, sum off the feedback. Maybe we should spend a small bit of time in maybe what is the 48 Acts and what is not the 48 Acts, because people are saying, well, is this counselling or is this,
Well,
right.
So this is not counselling.
Okay.
Counselling, in my opinion, is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. So counselling, by all means, if you have serious issues, go to your medical services provider. Go to counselling, go to your psychiatrist, whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. Why are you going 10, 15, 20 years later for the same thing? It's not, I'm not anti-counselling at all. I've been to 100 counsellors.
Yes.
At least. And psychiatrists and and you name them. This is not counselling, but it's more than counselling. This is giving you a voice, so you can control your own life. You're not depending on the model of some counsellor. You're not depending on some sort of outside authority. This empowers you to take back your life for you.
Yeah.
So that you can live a good life, a great life. You can be happy, you can be well, and you can deal with whatever the problems are, irrespective of what the problems are. So it's not counselling. Like Fergus has been a counsellor for 40 years.
Yeah. Well, I think it's always struck me when it's almost 40 years since I started training first, and then and I've had a benefit of both sides of sitting as the client and as the counsellor.
Yes.
And counselling places, so we need to nail this down from the start. Nothing about this is anti-counselling.
Not at all.
Every body and every model has its place, has its time.
Yes.
But now let's make this 100% clear.
Yes.
As much as we've had the information and the therapeutic process and the counselling and all the different models that have come over the years, we've never had so many problems in the world.
Exponentially.
You look at the World Health Organization with the upcoming 2026, which we're getting feedbacks, drip-fed to us coming now, has never in its entire existence. It's catastrophic, from obesity to addictions to depression, particularly
anxiety,
in an age group from 15 to 40.
Yes.
So something is missing.
Something is missing.
And this is
something wrong, and this is the answer. Yeah. This is what's missing. The 48 Acts. This is what's missing.
So what does it bring then?
This is a new way of life, a new way of living in the modern world, irrespective if you're religious, you're not religious, you're atheist, whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't equally matter what the problem is.
Yeah.
And in every case, this is applicable.
Yeah.
Whether you believe you have no problem.
Yeah.
Whether you believe you want to try and engage, you want to increase your understanding of yourself, increase your understanding of the world, examine the existential questions. That's wonderful. This is for it. And we are going to do, please God, lots of videos in that particular vein as well. But it's also for everybody, for you in particular, because it is the new way of living, of coping, of dealing with, as Fergus has said, the myriad stresses, the myriad problems that are rampant in society, that are destroying people's lives. If counselling on its own, therapy on its own, psychiatry and all those things were the answer, this wouldn't be happening.
And one of the difficulties, and I think whether counsellors or whether the people who produce the counselling models would agree or not, but that's not up. It's one of the difficulties, and this is a problem in the world, that we've moved into convenience and we want short-term solutions for long-term problems.
Yes.
And that's why we've had, in my ending up years, as counselling, if I was to get $1 or €1 for everyone who came in the door wanting to know, do you do cognitive behavioural therapy?
Yes.
Because my doctor said that's what I should get, and unless you do cognitive behavioural therapy. Now, cognitive therapy, behavioural therapy is fine. It's really just a tool in a toolkit, but it's a short-term solution of looking at managing thinking in a short space.
This is not about managing.
No.
This is not about short-term management. This is a long-term commitment.
Yeah.
For life-changing. This will change your life.
Yeah.
Irrespective of how awful, how nihilistic, or how good you feel.
Yeah.
It works in every circumstance.
Yeah.
It's not what's being sold. It's not a motivational exercise. You can go reinvent your life. You can go do this. You could do this. Rechange, recharge, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It's nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Neither is it, if you give me this money, God is going to bring you this. God is going to do this. God is going to do that. Give me more money. God is going. It's not about that either.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that when we came together first, and as I was working with you and getting the 48 acts out from your head and onto paper, one of the things that struck me, that really drew me into it big time, was in my later years in counselling, I would have spent quite an amount of the time. The first bit is the important. Anyone who worked as a counsellor will know, in creating an environment where the client feels safe to talk about, and that's important. But after that, a lot of the work that I would have done was taking them on more of an educational journey to understand why we arrive where we arrive.
Yes.
And when I saw this is what it really does, because it's really about understanding ourselves in a very different way that no counselling model teaches.
No,
and I know I've worked in the colleges.
Yes,
I know
you've been there, you've done it, you've been down there,
Yeah.
you've gone through them all, and I've seen them from the other end. No counselling model teaches this.
Yeah.
This is unique, and the 48 acts will change your life for the better. These are not empty promises and things to get you to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars, and you're gone next week and you're back to square one and you're eating more, you're drinking more, you're more depressed, or whatever it is.
And you come back to the therapy room and then you start talking about the same things again you've
that you spoke about for the last 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes on and
identifying
on.
with
And you don't grow, you don't develop. This is it. So what did you say? You have a number of people.
This is actually a family I know. I would have known the parents who rang, and I put it in. So they have a daughter. We call her Jenny, which is not the real name.
Okay.
What should we say? Now, she's addicted to social media and has body image difficulties. The family, the parents in particular, are very upset, in particular at the loneliness and isolation that their daughter has created and that she's trying to exist in. And their question was, well, how can this help not just Jenny, I suppose, but maybe them
family.
as well. Yeah.
Again, one of the main problems, exponentially increasing. In other words, exponentially means increasing at an extremely fast rate. Is social media and the consequences. So social media, like everything else, like every invention we've ever had, is in itself a wonderful thing. It's a great thing and it's a way of staying connected. However, everything we invent, we seem to turn it, as well as to good use, but to very bad or malevolent uses. Very good example is the aeroplane. We barely aeroplanes flying in the sky, and the first thing we did was put guns on them.
Yeah. Splitting the atom.
Yes, and all these different things. Understanding nuclear forces. I'm a physicist as well. Understanding that, yes, of course we did. and now we end up in where there's huge nuclear proliferation, and it's getting even worse now again. And everybody's riddled with the anxiety of the threat that this could happen at any day, there's a possibility it could, because we are so sick as a society. But to get back to, what was her name, Jenny? One of the huge problems is social media, because social media, on the one hand, creates a false belief that you are in a group, that you are facilitated by the group, that you are supported by the group, and you see this group and you're in the development of it. So our fundamental need as humans is to belong to a clan, to belong to a group. That's what we are. We've evolved over millions and millions of years to do that. Social media is exploited and is exploiting us, young people and everybody, through its algorithms, so that we will look at things in a certain way, so that we will stay on for hours and hours by exciting. They understand, they've done the science, they've worked it out, how I stay paying my attention to it. I do it because they keep sending me stuff that is even more drastic, more down because they study what my preferences are. They keep sending stuff that exactly matches what you want, and then it sends you stuff that's very controversial, and you suddenly become hooked in it. You get hooked in all sorts of conspiracy theories. You see your friends on social media, especially young people. I presume that girl is relatively young.
16.
Oh my goodness. That's the age where you're forming all your opinions, your personality, everything. And you are receiving, instead of meeting people face to face and forming friendships face to face and interacting with people and reading their body language and reading how they are, most of people of that generation are now, and especially since COVID, are they're enduring and lasting impressions and friendships based on social media, which is a lie. Because I can, as we all know, I can filter any photo, I can do anything, I can say anything. There's no consequence. So if I walk down the street and I say to the man down the street, I don't like you, you're this, that and the other, he's going to pick up a shotgun and shoot me, or he's going to get something and hit me. There's consequences if I say something to him. Or I call somebody names, or I call somebody this, or you're nasty, you're this. On social media, I can do all that, but there's no consequences. But there are consequences to the people who are called all these things, because they still receive it as if it was the guy on the street, and if it was the guy in your class, if it was the guy in your year in college or wherever. It's the same thing for the receiver, but for the person who's doing it, it's not. So it's so destructive. The 48 Acts is laid out in such a way that instead of going for counselling and therapy and all those things, we can get into reality. We can understand. So from both the family's point of view and from Jenny's point of view, we can have form a knowledge. So it's laid out in 48 Acts, explaining basically we're born without a manual. We don't have a manual. You get a car, there's a manual. You get a computer, there's a manual online. You get a phone, you get everything. There's instructions for how to use it. We don't have instructions. And with the breakdown of our family system and the disparate setup of it, and the change in our moral structures, our methodology for passing on information is broken down. So now we're receiving information from the most dubious of sources, usually large multinationals who are trying to gear us to spend and act in a certain way. So though we are the most advanced we've ever been, scientifically, technologically, we're probably the least advanced we've ever been emotionally and in any form of awareness.
Yeah.
This teaches us to recognize, to understand, to have knowledge, to understand, to go through it methodically, step by step, what the basic truths. Not because I'm telling you them, but because this is what they are, and you look at them and you understand them yourself. Yeah. If you can't read it, you can listen to it. Listen to it online, listen to it on Patreon, listen to it on YouTube, listen to it on the website. If you feel you can't read, because so many people, like me, I was a senior college lecturer in maths and physics, engineering. I was also a director in an academy of music. Yet I had very bad ADHD. That's why I found it so hard to study different types, like languages or literature. I found it hard to study it because I couldn't sit down long enough, whereas maths and physics were easier. I could get up and get down. If you can't read it, listen to it. And it lays out for both Jenny and for the parents or the guardians or whatever is the appropriate word. Is probably changed since last week. Because that's another thing. Words keep changing and meaning keeps changing. So nothing stays the same. Now nothing does stay the same, but still white is white and black is black. But where you shift the understanding and the meaning for people because of the way you receive information, people become despondent. Now, she sees body image as it's portrayed on a filter through social media. And she sees her image in the mirror and they don't correspond, so it's her fault. Because it's all a blame game. Listen to the TV, listen to the radio, the legacy media, social media, it's blame, blame, conflict journalism, blame, 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 shame, shame, shame. In this, it empowers you wholly and totally. It will change your life because you learn how to have knowledge as to get into reality, to see what's really going on at whatever level you're at. Then, as you go along, how to understand the knowledge you have. Because you can have all the knowledge, you know it yourself. We can have two scientists there, you and me, with the same facts, and have completely different understanding. Now, whether you would have to wonder sometimes, is there really completely different understanding, or are people playing to an agenda or an ideology? And we discuss that. You will learn to discern your own way in a proper way. Then when you learn that, you will begin to be aware, and then you have a kind of a manual where you can apply this to you, and irrespective of what it is, so that you can see that you are valued for who you are, and you can lose this outer false image, especially when you're 16, and everything, especially with young, is about image.
Yeah.
How you overcome that, how the parents can help overcome that. How they can, instead of shame and blame, I'm not saying they're shaming or blaming by any means, but so much is shame, blame, and they blame themselves. I know, I'm a parent of 4 children. You blame yourself all the time. Something goes wrong, you blame you. I did something wrong. If I could have only done this. So it's not the parents' fault. Parents have never tried as hard in the history of the world to help their children. The problem is we're helping too much in the wrong way.
Also, what attracted me in the 48 Acts when I was working with you, and one of the difficulties and talk therapy is really important. So
yes.
Nobody has saying anything wrong about talk therapy.
Yes.
Difficulty is though, the idea is that you're encouraged to talk about it.
Yes, not to act.
But what you're not encouraged to do is experience what you're
yes.
feeling. And you can't, in other words, it's very difficult to talk about what you're feeling. So what we tend to do, because I've done it from this side of the table, is, and counsellors can do it, we almost distort the story and we're led to believe that somebody else or something else is to blame for
yes.
how I'm feeling. But I write about this in the Layman's Guide.
Yes.
How to say, because we've had feelings long before we ever had language.
Yes, indeed.
And when language came, we learned to try to put language on something we were feeling.
Yes.
And put the cart before the horse.
Language has only arrived relatively.
And it's a very limited piece. What this does, it takes you beyond the language. The language is important, it's not saying that.
Yes, but
it takes you beyond the language.
You have to get beyond the talk.
Yeah.
You have to get beyond the talk therapy. This endless... Why are they going 10 years still going back every week, saying the same stuff?
Well, look, unfortunately, everything in life is a business. It's cool now to have a therapist.
Yes.
And now we have them going to therapists at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
yes,
13.
but like it's cooler if it works.
Yeah.
This works. This really, really works. And I agree with you. But this is the only thing that really will work because it empowers you.
Yeah.
You're not depending on a counsellor. You're not depending on, and I have nothing against them, but I've walked this walk. I've talked this talk. Yeah. I know this.
And we're counselling, and your medical provider and your psychiatrist are really important.
Yes.
Is in the very early stages where it's overwhelming.
It's short term.
When you want to see it, and that's important. We're not
totally
saying that. But if you're still there 5, 8, 12, 14, 16 months later,
there's something
wrong.
Yes. And invariably people are.
Yeah.
And this is what is missing. You said to me, you named out all these things, there's something missing. This is what's missing, the 48 Acts. Yeah. This is what's missing. Because this is basically a manual for life, a new way of living. Live your life in a better, deeper way. But to take joy back in life, to take back living. You know, a 16-year-old girl who has body image difficulties, who is manipulated in this way by social media, who's addicted to social media with the clicks and the likes, or whatever it is, in whatever social media. There's so many social medias now you can't keep track. But they're all predicated on manipulation.
Yeah. Second one here, the same, was a young man, we'll call him Brian, called in himself, early 20s. He made contact because he's extremely unfit and extremely overweight. Mm-hmm. And has he's no employment because he feels he can't go out and everybody will be looking at him.
Okay.
He feels hopeless, and the sad thing was he sees no point.
No point.
It's meaningless, yeah.
I mean...
And he's not on his own.
He's not on his own. There's, unfortunately, in the developed first world, there's millions of people like him. You know, and your heart goes out to them.
Yeah.
You know, and again, with somebody like that, it's a body image thing in ways. It's the environment, it's social media, it's all this news, this negative news that's coming in all the time, this conflict journalism, this conflict stories. So look at him, he's in his 20s, and so he's possibly somebody who may or may go to counselling. It's hard to know. If he's extremely unfit and overweight, he's obviously not exercising, he's overeating. Now,
well, one of his difficulties was that he couldn't afford counselling, so he can't go to counselling.
Right, okay.
It's not an option for him.
It's not an option for him.
Yeah.
The being overweight is primarily an addiction to sugar, and sugar is a hugely addictive substance.
And we should say that within obesity, and there's such a huge epidemic of obesity, obesity is very complex, Paddy.
It's huge.
And there is this thing out there that, eat less and move more and you'll be fine. You won't.
No, but you won't. Look, I was at one stage in my life, as you know, I was very, very heavy.
Yeah.
Even though I'd ridden race horses. I practically put on double my body weight. So I understand this.
Yeah.
And the problem is the food. There's a myriad problem. Briefly, I'll go through it very briefly. The problem is sugar is addictive, especially because we become addicted to it. We crave sugar. We crave it. What does an alcoholic crave? Alcohol. What does a drug addict?
Drugs.
What does somebody with sugar crave? Something with sugar. It's the same thing, right? And they're putting sugar into everything. Everything. Every single piece of our food is loaded with sugar in one form or another. So, and obviously if you become overweight, you become extremely unfit. Then you have no employment because you feel body image again, you can't go out, everybody will be looking at you, feel bad about yourself. So this is the perfect book, in his case, it's the perfect, live your life in a better, deeper way.
Yeah.
Live your life in a new way. So he has no, he feels there's no point, but there is no point. And they're trying to sell you this idea. The scientists say we are, and I'm a scientist, I'm a physicist, so I really know what I'm talking about here. We're just a fluctuation, a quantum fluctuation. We're accidents in the universe. We have no value. You're just an accident happened in space and time. All humanity is just an accident. It's just it could have happened, it mightn't have happened, so you have no value. There is no transcendence. There is no... That's what's being told to you, but that's patently false. Because the results of this way of thinking are all around you to see. You've been manipulated into this. That it's all hopeless, it's all pointless.
Yeah.
Sure, why wouldn't it be? Sure, like everything is pointless anyway. You're just going to live and die. This nihilistic way of thinking.
Yeah.
The 48 Acts, if you go and you read it, go on the website, YouTube, Patreon, go to the Patreon site and wherever. Empower yourself, because this will give you the knowledge of why you are. If you don't understand why you are the way you are, you will never get well.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing as how can you change if you
I've
don't know what you're trying to change?
I've been in 12-step programs. I've been in psychiatric hospitals. I've been in loads and loads of different places. And I've learned from my own experience, if you no model, no nothing will work. You must understand why you are the way you are.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you don't need to do that at all. You need to just get out. You need to treat the disease. Nonsense.
No.
That's nonsense.
Yeah.
You need to understand why you are.
Yeah.
You need to understand that these are maladaptive behaviours, that they are a response to trauma and pain. That's it. It's not your fault. You're blamed. I realised just how bad I was. I'm Johnny and I'm an alcoholic. I was just such a scumbag. I'm such a drunk. I'm such a this and such. It's all self-blame and all. It's utter nonsense. It's not. It's a response to the trauma that you have had in one form or another. And we talk about this a lot in this trauma. Why you feel trauma, your perception of trauma, why that's so important. Is fundamentally important. And
it's so true. It's really important because we focus on the trauma all the time.
Yes.
And I discovered I lived a lifetime of trauma.
Yes.
And blaming an abuser, but until I actually discovered, sir, the abuse happened 50-something years ago.
Yes.
Why am I still traumatized?
Right. So what's going on?
Why? Yeah.
So it's your perception of it. Yes.
Yeah.
And blaming yourself.
Yeah.
So in that particular case, this is the perfect program, website. Check it out online, whatever.
We'll go on to, I have a third one here, Paddy.
Right.
I wrote down 5 of them.
Fantastic.
I took a potpourri from a huge selection.
Okay.
This is a woman, she's a really good job, has children, has a husband, who she gets on well with, so all that's going well.
All hunky-dory.
She is secretly drinking and drugging all the time. Will this help her? Answer that one now.
Yeah. I've suffered from the trauma of addiction and alcoholism from a very early age.
Okay.
And it's taken me to terrible, terrible places, to deep, dark places. And it's caused me to have huge problems in my life, and I hurt myself, I hurt everybody around me. So the first thing I would say is, secretly, she may be secretly drinking, she may be secretly drugging, but it's not a secret.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. And she just apparently thinks it is, or somebody is enabling her to. It may be they're keeping the peace, and obviously she has a good job, she's making money. And there's this facade that things are okay. They're never okay.
Because it doesn't have the apparent consequences.
It hasn't the consequences yet.
Yeah.
Like, if she wouldn't be ringing in if everything was okay.
Yeah.
Or writing in or whatever in this particular case. It's a soul sickness. Addiction, alcoholism. So let's define it. Addiction is anything I do or take for short-term gain or pain relief or pleasure, despite the negative consequences. And it's on a sliding scale. It goes on and on and on.
Yes.
Now, when we start drinking secretly, it means we're hiding it. Addiction will make you a liar.
Yeah.
It will make you a cheat. It will make you all the things that you are not. But you believe yourself now to be.
Yeah.
So she said the word secretly, because that's one of the, believe you me, it won't be secret in a while.
And within that, of course, shame begins to increase.
Then the shame
Yeah.
and the guilt increases on the shame. So this is the perfect book for somebody who's drugs. Like this is, I have vast experience. I've been in addiction centres, I've been in psychiatric hospitals, I've been in 12-step programs. They all have their place, they all work. But this is the only thing, in my opinion, that worked for me. This is the way, in my opinion, to deal with addiction in any of all of its myriad forms, because it will change your life. You cannot stop drinking and continue on, or stop drugging and continue on, because you have fixed nothing.
Yeah.
You've just stopped. But it's everything that's wrong is still wrong, because drinking is not. You blame everybody who has issues with alcohol, drugs, or whatever, or online porn or social media, whatever. There's 1,000 addictions. I call them maladaptive behaviours. Everybody who has that knows in their heart of hearts something is wrong. And it leads you down these secret paths, these paths of shame, guilt, but it will be reinforced in you of how bad you are. And then people will start telling you, it hasn't obviously happened with her yet, but it will. What kind of a failed person you are. And then you will start to believe it yourself, because you will see the evidence. You are a failure. You're drinking all the time. You're drugging all the time. The blame and the shame grows exponentially. So as it starts, it doesn't go like this. It goes everywhere. And it becomes catastrophic quickly. And then you blame yourself. Well, why am I doing this? But you can't stop. It's a never-ending thing. I can't stop, or I can stop, but I can't stay stopped. Why? Because it's a response. It's a self-medication and response to some pain, some trauma that you have. You wouldn't be doing it. Nobody wants to be an addict. There is not one person. I've never met anybody who wants to be an addict.
And I think it's important to point out here, because you mentioned it a number of times throughout the 48 Acts. Because when we say like it's the response to trauma, and I know from work, well, I never had trauma in my life to see it. And this is where you consistently make the point. It's not what happened, it's how
your
you
perception of it.
What happened.
So this is why I talk about it a lot in this book. You hear, this is a common one I hear. John and Jim. One is an alcoholic, one is not. They come from the same
family.
Same dynamic. And they say the dynamic is tough enough. Well, John didn't. There was nothing wrong with him. There's something wrong with you because you reacted and he didn't. So you are flawed.
Yeah.
And I say no. Your response, your perspective to the same situation is completely different to the other one.
Yeah.
So it's not your fault. But I've seen, heard and spent a lifetime in blame, where I've been blamed, castigated, cast out from the world, where addicts and people addicted and alcoholics and people addicted are treated like the scum of the earth. And we believe it. And we go along with this. Because you know what we'll do? We'll do anything to protect our addiction. We'll do anything to protect the thing we're addicted to. Do you want to call me that? Fine, where's the next drink? Do you want to call me that? That's fine. I'm this, I'm that, the other. You will go to any lengths because your thinking is gone.
Yeah.
This will take you. You don't. If you're not able to read, if you can't sit down and read, listen to the videos. This will take you back, and you will discover why you're doing this in the first place. If you don't understand that, believe you me, I know this as much as anybody in the whole world. You will never solve the problem. You will never get to the bottom until you know why, and then you understand it, and you experience it. And then you don't keep re-experiencing it. Every day I am Johnny and I'm an alcoholic or whatever. Or I'm a Jimmy or Mary or whatever, and I'm a drug addict. You cease to identify with it, not reinforce it every day. You live a new life where it doesn't have the power over you. You get back your voice, you get back your say, you get back your life, you get back your dignity, you get back the things that have all been taken from you. And they have been taken. And you've allowed them to be taken from you. Not because it's your fault, but because you're addicted.
Yeah.
And because you're in trauma and you're medicating to take away. You've heard the expression. I wanted to get out of my head, even for a short while. Why would you want to get out of your head? Unless there's something wrong in there. There's something hitting you there every day. I want to get away from reality. What this will teach you is reality is the place to be.
Yeah. Not nice in the short term, but life-saving in the long term.
Yes, and you can have a life that you wouldn't believe.
And that's why this is long term.
This is long term. This is not a 5-minute detox. You know, we go in somewhere, we dry out for a few days or weeks, or we go into some place
it's not just 10 steps to success in my life.
Yeah, this is not that.
None of it that's working. We know that now because the facts don't lie. The facts of the huge problems that are facing the world.
The facts don't lie.
No.
You know, and this, anybody who's ever read this or has had anything to do with this will tell you it has changed their life fundamentally.
It's interesting now, as there's a common theme coming here now at the moment. So we've gone from social media, with a hint of body dysmorphia. We've come to overweight, obesity, and there's depression within it.
Right, addiction.
We've come to addiction. Now the next one, and this is Mark, who's depressed. Once again, a young man in his 20s, unmotivated and in a dead-end job, and he feels it's all useless and pointless. Yeah.
Again, this is so common. There may be many reasons why he is depressed. if he's able to say he's depressed, it's either because he has self-diagnosed himself as being depressed, or he has already had a diagnosis of depression. If you feel you are depressed, in the first case, you must go see your doctor, your medical services provider. You must try and deal with it. And I am not against, I am for, I'm all pro. If you need to take
if you need medication to sort, you need medication
in the short term.
And if you need it for the rest of your life.
If you need medication, that's fine. This is not anti-medication. But medication is not the answer.
Well, medication really is about treating symptoms.
It's treating symptoms, and it only treats some of the symptoms, and
it doesn't treat the problem.
And it deadens you.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're unmotivated, no one, what did he say? He was unmotivated?
He was unmotivated, depressed, and in a dead-end job.
Right, a dead-end job. So obviously, he's working to... It's a cycle. He's working to live, to work. Yeah. And so many people are. And so many people are working 2 jobs and 3 jobs and 4 jobs. And it's like this, and they can't get anywhere. And it's hopeless. It's this idea that's been promoted by the hugely wealthy people in our world, that it's all hopeless. So you might as well work for us and create the wealth that we can enjoy. Because never has there been so much disparity in wealth, where we have a small group of extremely wealthy individuals now controlling everybody. It's like back hundreds of years ago when there were monarchies everywhere. It's the same thing. And they have their acolytes, just as there was the aristocracy. And it's the exact same model. We just call them different things, but they are the exact same. This is a cup. I could equally call this a beaker, or I could call it a tankard. It was called a tankard, we say, 1,000 years ago. It was called a beaker maybe before that, and now it's a cup. It's the same thing. It does the same thing. It holds the tea, or it holds water, or whatever. So, when you are feeling utterly depressed, alone, going nowhere, maybe no relationship, maybe no feeling of no relationship, your life is a mess. That's the place to start. Once you see that your life is a mess, this is a hopeless, pointless, dead-end job, okay. Now, you are in a position to begin to look at it.
Yeah, you're at the starting point.
You're at the starting point. You can say, right, because if he has said this, at least he's seen something. Yeah. So he's seen, right, okay, well, it is like this. I'm in a dead-end job, maybe working in a store, or whatever it is. He is the perfect person, in this case, to embark upon this, because this is a new way of living.
Yeah.
A new way of living, but of finding joy, peace, contentment, success, on your own terms, for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Not because you want more attachments and more money, but so that you can achieve and be the potential of the person that you really should be. That you're not your own failure, that you create yourself. Not in the eyes of other people, but in the eyes of yourself. Because we are our own worst judges. But that you feel you are on the right path, you are doing the right things. To get on this path, this is the way. This is the way to go.
Yeah.
This shows you how to do it, to understand it, to grasp it. What do I do? I love it. I'm an engineer as well as a physicist. I love something. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do this, then I do this, then I do this, then I do this. Lay it out for me. This lays it out.
Yeah.
And you do this, this, and this. And in 3 months, you said it yourself in one of your videos. I saw it the other day, where you said, when you were helping me to write down the final version of this, because I found it actually quite difficult to physically write it down. That was a couple of years ago. You said that, and Fergus has 40 years experience and large amount of training in trauma counselling and family therapy and all sorts of therapies.
A lot of dysfunction.
And a lot of dysfunction. And you said that after a while, when you were working with me and writing down what I was saying and all that, you felt it was working on you despite you, without you actually doing anything.
Yeah.
And that's the strangest thing.
Yeah, but because I began to, not I cognitively, and this was the big game changer for me. I wasn't cognitively thinking about it as I was doing it.
No.
I was allowing myself to feel what was happening within my body. Now, this is a really important point because it's very important to point out that why this works. This works because there's no scientist can diss this.
No.
Because it's based on the reality of
where we're at.
But more importantly, how over the last 14,000 years we've arrived here.
Yeah, so we have said...
Yes. Now, it's not a history book.
No, far from it.
It just goes to show...
It just explains in a brief way our evolution in the last short period of our existence as humans.
Yeah.
True. And it is a manual. It is much more than that. It is much more than that. But you can see it on a number of levels.
Yes.
But it is the strangest thing. And so an awful lot of people have said this to me. That they've read it and put it away, or read some of it and put it away. This happened to me twice this week, actually. And after a while, they went back to it and picked it up again, because they felt that despite or in spite or without them ever doing anything, it had started to work on them anyway.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. When I was doing it, I stopped thinking about it.
You stopped thinking about it.
But my body started experiencing it.
Your body started doing it, and you started doing it in a different way.
But that's not just some that I lit incense sticks at home. That's because, as we've shown, that we have a previous emotional, biological brain that we've disconnected from. Disconnects us back to
This reconnects us back, it grounds us back.
Based on the science of it even.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And that's why in that particular case, like this is... Again, it's tailor-made for somebody like this.
But that's why it's pure reality.
It's pure reality. Yeah. And who's the fifth one then?
We have Roy,
okay,
who was later middle-aged. I think that would be you and I, would it? In our 60s.
Oh, no, I would consider myself young middle-aged.
With lots of assets, money, that's not me, no.
No, I don't think it's me either.
and a consistent large income.
Oh my goodness, it's not me, no.
Who feels... And who feels by all his lifestyles and pursuit of success has alienated his wife and children who don't talk to him anymore. And between the lines, I think what he was saying to me is that he said, I thought I had everything, but now I've actually discovered in my 60s I have nothing.
Yeah. Well, he gone after the wrong things. But he blames himself.
But we've been encouraged to go after these things, haven't we?
But is he to blame, or is he fully to blame?
No.
How is he aware?
No.
He's beginning to be aware now.
Yeah.
That he sees what the consequences.
Yeah.
But like,
because I suppose he's arrived at a point where he's aware of what he has, but he's even more aware of what he hasn't.
Yeah. Yes. So when young men, this is a man, but young men and young women, or however you define yourself. I'm not into the gender thing. You can define yourself as whatever you'd like. I'm just into trying to help people to fix their problems. I don't care what you call yourself. He has been, in this particular case, he has been, but equally could be she, shown and programmed from an early age, addicted to the drugs of approval, the drugs of acclamation, of approval, of appreciation. Programmed that you will be successful, you will achieve all your wildest dreams if you do this. I'm sure he went to college, followed a career path of whatever he was in, whatever business or professions or whatever. You will garner lots of money, have lots of property, get a nice looking wife, have the nice kids, and voila, you're going to be happy. And you arrive there and he says, "This is it." He doesn't sound happy. Why? Like, so basically, what he was sold by whomsoever has sold it to him, society, and whoever in society is controlling it, has sold him a false belief. It's not true.
Yeah.
I've had I've had sports cars, I've had race horses, I've lots of other things, and that doesn't make you happy, man.
No.
You know, that doesn't make you happy. But you keep, it's the next fix. I remember I used to love Porsche sports cars. So I'd buy a Porsche. They were one of the few things actually that took me away to a degree. When I could drive, and drive in the air, I loved it.
This is before you got banned from driving now, Paddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted a faster one.
Yeah.
A bigger one.
Yes.
A better one. I could never sit in the one I have and say, like, isn't this wonderful to just... No, I wanted a better one. I wanted a Spider. I wanted this. I wanted a Ferrari. I had a Ferrari. Drove a Ferrari around Milan. I thought it was a hero. And then I wanted another type of one. You know, you can never satiate a hole that cannot be filled.
Yeah.
This is a hole you can never fill. So, this is a new way of living. It's a new way of living your life. It is... Whether you are I'm sure he's in his 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, you can by reading this, by understanding it, so you can obviously read and understand it and grasp it fairly well. You can read it, you can understand it, and you can implement. It's never too late. It's never too late. Never
and
too
there
late.
is no problem that can't be
None.
worked through.
You cannot change.
If you want
He
to.
cannot change his wife. Is he divorced? I presume maybe he's divorced a few
Well,
times.
all he says is his wife and children who don't talk to him.
Right, okay. So obviously they ain't good communication there.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, he cannot change. He will learn. You see, he's full of the belief that it's their fault some way, or it's his fault some way, and that he could change them. You can't change them. What has happened has happened.
Yeah.
All he can do is change himself.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how to change himself.
Yeah.
This is how.
And when I was saying just a couple of moments ago about a common team developing,
Yes.
that we've had 5 completely different age groups, completely different genders, completely different problems, but they all come back to the same thing, don't they?
Yes, everything.
Ultimately,
it's human. It's the human experience. It's the human condition. There is no problem
Yeah.
that anybody can have
Yeah.
that will not be extraordinarily helped by the 48 Acts.
Yeah. And
I'm telling you that this is true.
And we're back to again, why is it the way forward? Because it's different. It's a different way of living in the world, and we have to put our hands up, every one of us, because we've all collectively created it. We've created a world that we're not able to live in anymore.
No, that's patently
That's
obvious.
patently obvious. But we've also allowed ourselves to be pushed into a belief that short-term solutions were the answer.
Yes.
If you own this, if you do this 4 sessions in counselling,
but there
you
is
do
also
that,
the wider part of this in Project 48 and all those things, where we do look at the systemic societal issues, right?
Yeah.
And how society and how we may affect change in society. You cannot change society. You cannot change anything until you fix yourself.
Yeah. And that you can do.
And you can, no matter how. Look, I know what it is to be penniless. To be very wealthy, to be penniless.
Yeah.
To have everything, to have nothing.
Yeah.
To have success, to have failure. To know what real success and real failure was as that particular person. To live a new life. And the suffering that I went through, the horrendous suffering over such a protracted period of time, was that thing that taught me that.
Yeah.
And my experience and my ability to try and put it together as best as I could and make sense of it all. Okay?
Yeah.
Because in the depths of the hell that I was in was the creation of the path that I could get out. So if I hadn't gone there, I would have never found the way out. So we have to think of all this. And we talk about all those things. And we will build as we go along. I'm bringing, please God, I hope to do a book which is much more, where we cover in wider detail the macrocosmic. In other words, the societal and the world and the scientific issues around this. But the 48 Acts is self-contained, both for you as an individual, you, me, and society, as it is.
Yeah, but ultimately it's for you.
But it's ultimately...
It's about you.
I wrote it, Fergus helped me, we've put this together. We've put it together.
Together, yes, good one, Paddy, good one.
Primarily for the sole reason, actually, to help you.
Yeah.
Like, we're not wealthy. We're not, like, I mean, this is a little room at the end of the house.
At the end of the house, yes.
Like, we're not wealthy. This is not driven by wealth. I don't want you to believe in somebody. I don't want you to do nothing. I want you to find out things for yourself.
Yeah.
You must empower yourself, get back your voice, get back your reality, get back in truth and in life, and live.
Yeah.
Live and stop the madness. But you can't stop the madness in the world at large until you stop the madness in your own head.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we're at. And well, thank you for bringing up those, Fergus. That was interesting. And every so often, I think that would be a good idea. I'm sure that's just a drop in the ocean of the people that you were dealing with. But we'll examine different problems and we'll see how we can apply them. You know, just again, how for a person in a particular, like another one there, I was surprised it didn't come up, was the whole thing of coercive control, living in a coercive, controlling relationship.
2 videos on its own, Paddy.
The problem is that is such an overwhelming problem, and we will deal with that. We need to deal with that one as well. And I will do a couple of videos just on living in a controlling, coercive, controlling relationship and the destruction on you and all around you that causes. And that's really important. Yeah. You know,
and and you know what? At the end of the day, we'll come back to where we started from. What this is really about is we spend our life trying to change others or trying to change ourselves, but the truth is we never knew what we were trying to change. So you can't change if you don't know what you're trying to change in the first place.
Yes.
And that's what I learned here. For the first time, I learned to understand what it was I was trying to change.
Exactly.
And then it actually became easy.
Yes, exactly. And like, I mean, well, like if you don't know what you're at, then you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
You know. So listen, thank you very much, Fergus.
No,
thanks for coming along today. Keep following the channel. Keep following us wherever you can follow us, and help in any way you can. And we do appreciate it. And I hope this has been of some help. And again, if you have an issue, if you have a problem, send it in. Check it out on the website. Contact us, and in whatever way that we can explicate it, we will.
Yeah, and thank you very much. We'll talk again soon.
Please God. Thank God. Bye.